Type 1 diabetes is on a rise right now, especially in youth, and JDRF is here to spread awareness and education about type 1 diabetes and also letting us know that it's not just in younger people, it's in everyone, and something that's very important that we do here. I have Kayla, who is the ambassador for JDRF, and Peggy, who is with them. And this is such a big thing for me because my brother was diagnosed at 16 with type 1 diabetes. And we're seeing, Peggy, that it's a rise in youth now, especially at this time of year, when we are thinking that they are, of course, sleeping, they're resting, or whatever, but actually they need to be checked out. But what's also important, today is the last day of Diabetes Awareness Month, but we're saying it should be all the time. And the reason why is because we're seeing a rise in type 1 diabetes.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We don't know why. And you know, type 1 diabetes, there's a vast difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease of which there is no cure. So where type 2 diabetes, as you're aware, is more of a lifestyle change that can be altered. So that's the vast difference. And it accounts for approximately 10% of all diabetics internationally wide, versus 90% are type 2 diabetes. So there is a vast difference, but we just don't know why the increase is occurring.
Yeah, and that's where the research comes in and the funding that's so important so we can do this research. But the big part that we want to talk about is not being ashamed, especially when it comes to the youth, and that's where we bring Kayla, who is our ambassador, who was just diagnosed how many years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And so at first you were a little scared, it was a little different, didn't know what was going on, right?
Yeah, it was pretty scary, but then JDRF kind of helped me get comfortable in my own skin and like feel comfortable sharing my story with others.
Why don't we tell people the story, because I think there might be a parent out there or a grandparent who need to hear this, because it's interesting because everyone is different from how they detect diabetes. So what happened with you?
So before I got diagnosed, I was drinking gallons of water a day. I was really irritable. I was eating a bunch of food, but I was losing weight, like excessively. I was feeling sick every morning on the way to school, even if I had eaten breakfast that morning.
Yeah. And
I was, you know, using the bathroom a lot because I was drinking so much water.
Right. And so everyone's thinking, well, you're a teenager, you're growing, you know, that's what happens, and you kind of blow it off. But you went to the doctor, which was very important once, you know, your family started to notice this. And what did the doctor do?
So I went to my primary care, and they were like, so, like, we don't know what's going on yet, so we're just going to test your blood sugar to make sure everything's good. And I was a girl who was, like, terrified of needles. Like, I would cry every time I go to get a shot. So they were like, we're just gonna poke your finger, all of that stuff, and I ended up being 458.
Wow, and that's something, Peggy, we gotta watch out for.
100%.
And again, that's where you guys are there to bring awareness. The phone lines are open, the website's there, because we really need to, you know, get the research done, but also to help people live a longer life too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the key for JDRF, is that they are the largest national or international fundraiser for type 1 diabetic research. And it's so essential because it's not only, obviously the ultimate goal is a cure, but it's to help prevent those that, you know, we don't want to have somebody, another parent be told, or another adult or a child be told, you have type 1 diabetes, right? So prevention is essential. But then also, to help treat. So I have a son that's her age that got diagnosed at 2, and we have continuous glucose meters, we have pumps that are there to help them manage on a day-to-day basis so they don't have to do needles, syringes constantly. So I mean, it's a 24/7, 365-day disease that really needs a cure.
Yeah, you said something important, and that's the pump and everything they have, because Kayla loves this when people go, what's going on with you? What's that? What's this? And you want people to ask you, because you're not ashamed of it, and that's something that we want to get out there. And also you have a buddy, Blake, is it? Who actually helps monitor you too, along with your family, which is really fun. But quickly, tell us about what you have on.
So I use a Dexcom G6 to monitor my blood glucose levels.
Fancy.
Here, show it up to the camera so they can see that. And I know we got to, so see there, that's very important there to have, and that's easy.
And then I use the Omnipod 5, which is on my stomach right now, that gives me insulin without having to do actual injections.
So that way you can do everything you do. I understand you are just pretty much cheerleading, quad riding, causing trouble, not cleaning up your room, all that stuff that a teenager still does, right?
Yeah.
I love it. This is great. Peggy, this is so important. Kaylee, thank you very much for coming on and making people aware that as teens, we need to make sure people are aware and stuff too. Peggy, tell them where they can find out more information about JDRF and of course all the research and the information.
Yeah, so anybody that's newly diagnosed, first of all, if you have flu-like symptoms, insist on a finger prick. As Kayla had mentioned, one finger prick can easily rule out type 1 diabetes because you don't want them to go into diabetic ketoacidosis, which is important. But JDRF offers so many different resources, not only educational, support groups, everything that we can help, you know, soups to nuts, just to help manage your type 1 diabetes, which is pretty amazing. So, and we definitely need to fundraise for the type 1 diabetic research to find a cure.
Yeah, very important. We have information on aztv.com, and of course you saw the place you can go to find out more about JDRF.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, for coming in.